me just get my breath. Okay, this is like the second time that I've tried to film this video, and at this point, it is what it is. So, first off, my name is Hannah. If you already are following me on my Instagram, you guys already know all about this. But if you are not, make sure you follow me at HannahXCole. Today is going to be a story time, as you guys can see in the title, because you guys seem to really love my story time videos. So I have my videos, all like the playlist for all my story times linked down below in the description box or somewhere on the screen. But this one is, I mean, you guys are in for a treat. Now, while I'm telling this story, it's going to seem like I'm telling it in a very comedic, very nonchalant way, but this is probably one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever been in my life. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the saying, laughing to keep from crying. That's basically what I'm gonna do. Oftentimes when something happens to me, I laugh at myself because that's just my personality. I'm always laughing at myself. So grab yourself a glass of wine. This is actually juice. This is my favorite juice from Trader Joe's, the lemon ginger. Y'all, if you have not tried this juice, you need to get on it. Grab yourself some wine, maybe a beer. If you're under the age of 21, maybe grab yourself a juice box or some water, and please just keep on watching. This one, I also wanted to just get some things off my chest. I need to just talk it out. I haven't shared the story from start to finish, so I decided to do that for you guys today. So I'm gonna take a sip real quick. So this incident occurred back in June 17th to be exact. It was a Wednesday. I hope that June 17th is a Wednesday. Let me check real quick. It is. And I remember this day because I literally had nothing going on. So I had a half day at work. I actually had a dentist appointment. So I left work early to be to my dentist appointment at 11 a.m. After my dentist appointment, I ended up going to visit my dog and my parents, and I had just bought this huge vase from Home Goods, and it was like a big like tropical flower plant, but the base of it was white, so I wanted to paint it black. So I also stopped by to get some paint for my mom's. I came back to my place and I was like painting, and then I just want to make a big quick disclaimer. I don't want y'all to think that I don't know how to cook, and I know when I'm telling this story it's gonna seem like I don't know how to cook, but I want you to say I can chef some things up. I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but at the same time I'm gonna toot my own horn. I'm pretty good at cooking, so I don't want this story to be a reflection of my cooking capabilities. You can still call me Chef Boyardee. I just want to make that very clear because it's gonna seem like what is going on when I start telling you guys everything. Anyways, from like, I think this is probably one of the first things I've ever made that I really succeeded at is homemade fries, to the point where when I go out to eat, I don't even get fries anymore. The McDonald's fries don't hit the same. Wendy's can keep the sea salt. The only fries that I will try is Five Guys because they have like the Cajun seasoning and everything. But besides that, for the most part, I make my own fries. Like potatoes, I get the Old Bay seasoning, you know, the pepper, the salt. I do it all. I decided, you know what? Let me go and make some fries. I also want to make another disclaimer that because we're in the pandemic, a lot of things that I usually use, so like, for example, I usually use vegetable oil when I cook fries. This time I had canola oil because they were out of vegetable oil. And that's a key point because canola oil is way more watery-ish. It's not like a thicker substance, so it gets hotter faster. For me, being black, most black people have their oil pot. You cook your fried chicken in it, you cook your pork chops, you cook your fish, you cook your fries, and then eventually when the oil gets dirty, you just toss that out. I had a fresh pot of oil. So I want you guys to understand that this pot of oil was very potent. It was very clean, it was very pure. There wasn't a lot of things going on. There wasn't a lot of flour or excess seasoning, pure oil. It's gonna get hot because there's nothing causing it not to. I'm also gonna be very honest with you guys. I wasn't paying as much attention to what was going on. When I think back onto some things that I was doing, this all could have been prevented, but at the same time, I do think God had a purpose in this happening to me, and you guys are gonna see as I continue to tell you the story. At the same time, as I was cooking, I was also doing laundry. I had already cut up, chopped all up the fries on the cutting board. I had that ready, and I had turned the grease on. I think I just turned the knob. I don't think I was paying attention to what temperature I was putting it on, so who knows? It had to be hot enough for this all to happen. Another mistake that I made is I kept the lid on the pot. I didn't have the top off, okay? So please don't judge me. The lid that I had was a glass lid, but it had like 2 pop holes in it. So like the holes would allow air to come through. I don't know why or how I noticed, but I realized that, oh, I'm cooking grease. And at that point, that's when things hit the fan. It was already too late to try to salvage anything because I think the fire was already brewing up in the pot. I think I smelled the smokish grease mixture that was occurring, and then I walked over to the stove and I looked at the pot. I have never been in a fire before. I mean, there have been instances where maybe I forgot to turn off a burner, or I burned some bread, or I forgot to take the biscuits out of the oven, but I've never been in a full-blown fire before. I immediately turned off the burner and I slid the pot to a burner that wasn't on. Now, the point in which I messed up is that I took the top off. If we know, chemistry, or just all through kindergarten through 12th grade, they're teaching us, stop, drop, roll, don't let oxygen get to the fire. Well, I was not thinking at that moment. I was in a flight situation. Like, it was literally do or die. And so immediately when I took off the lid, the fire went on up. It just, okay? I immediately said to myself, Jesus, help me. I remember distinctly saying, Jesus, help me, because when I saw those flames go up, I thought to myself, all right, I am not gonna be the one that's going to burn down this place. Like, it's not gonna be me. And the way that my place is set up, it would have affected everyone. At this point, the smoke from the pot had already started to trickle out. So the smoke was like going up from the potholes, like from the little holes. So I had gotten like a beach towel and I was like fanning the smoke detector because I did not want the smoke detector to go off, y'all. I was so concerned with like not letting people know what was going on, which is not the mindset you need to have. The way my kitchen's set up, there's my stove, and then immediately above my stove is the microwave. So the microwave, it has on it a vent option, which I didn't know until this happened, that I had a vent option. So I hit the vent button, and y'all, that vent was not doing anything for me because the fire was now a fire. The smoke detectors went off. I panicked and I took oven mitt and I took like a kitchen towel and I carried the pot over to the sink and I had turned the water on. Now, mistake number 1, I let the fire get oxygen. Mistake number 2 is that I was about to allow water to go in it. I took that pot off the stove and I chucked it into the sink. Immediately when I chucked it into the sink, the fire literally it literally exploded, okay guys? When I say exploded, it literally looked like 9/11, and I'm not saying that in a funny way at all. There was so much smoke, and not once did I think, stop, drop, roll. Not once did it come to me. I thought I had asthma, okay? I could not breathe. I still have not gone outside, and I realized at this point that I'm gonna have to call the fire department, and I wanted to avoid having to call anyone. I thought I was gonna be able to do it on my own, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but my mom confirmed for me that Jesus was not in that fire with me because they did not get injured. I realized that, okay, I'm gonna have to call like 911 because this is not gonna go out by myself. The smoke detectors were going off and the sirens in here were going off so loud, and it was so hard to concentrate. So I call 911, and the first time I called, they never even asked me for my name, okay? Number 1, based on, I can't give you guys too much details because I don't want you to know where I live, but based on where I live, I could have gotten any fire department based off of where I lived. So they said to me that we're gonna transfer you. So I'm like, okay. When they transfer me, the call goes to voicemail. I'm gonna say that one more time. The call went to voicemail. So I already had anxiety, and then now I call 911 and I'm sent to voicemail. So I immediately hang up the phone and I call again. This time the lady asked me for my name. She asked me what the issue was. I told her, ma'am, there's a fire. And I go, the first time I went to voicemail and no one's answering. But she ended up transferring the call, but she was still on the line. When the guy did it the first time, he transferred me and he left the line. At this point, I no longer could stay in the kitchen area because the smoke was now traveling throughout. And I have high ceilings, so I went to the part of my area where there's the ceiling was the highest. And now I'm fanning So I'm fanning, and then I'm taking the towel and I'm breathing into like the towel, and then I'm fanning, and then I'm breathing into the towel. So I'm still on the phone with her. She's asking me all these questions, and I'm like, ma'am, there's a fire, like hurry up. Like what is the issue? I cannot stay in here any longer and I have to go outside. When I tell you this is a God thing, I open the door, and directly across from when I opened the door were two of my neighbors. I don't know what I looked like. I don't know if you guys ever, when you lounge around the house, so you don't have like the best type of clothing on. I remember having on like a sports bra, this like beach cover up with like tassels around the hem, and then like some just basic shorts. And I guess I must have looked crazy because their eyes are like huge. I've lived here for quite some time now, and I've never really talked to any of my neighbors, and the fact that only two of them showed up was a big thing to me, especially when two of my neighbors, I'm not going to say what their profession is because I don't want to cause any issues in the comment section because you will get blocked, but they are within the essential worker realm, if that makes sense. The neighbor directly across from me, the person stays up wicked late. Like when I say wicked late, like 2 or 3. And the reason why I know this is because I'm a night owl, so I'm up too. He shut his lights off, so I knew he was awake. So the fact that only 2 of my neighbors, and actually it was just one neighbor because they're a couple. The fact that they were the only ones that actually came outside to help or see about it, it really spoke volumes to me because the sirens and the alarms and everything were so loud to the point where like there's no way you could not have heard what was going on. So I'm still on the phone with her. I go outside and I'm like coughing now at this point, and they're talking to me, I'm talking to her, and I literally just fall to the ground on the concrete, and like at this point I'm like dying. So then the girl just says, okay ma'am, we're gonna send the fire department to you, and then she hangs up. My neighbor is like, oh, do you want me to go upstairs and shut off the alarms for you? And I literally at this point I'm like, go ahead, do whatever you gotta do, whatever you feel like you can do to help me out, go ahead and do it. I approve this message. So my neighbor, the guy, because I told you he was a couple, he goes up and he's up there shutting stuff off. And then the girl is just sitting there just watching me, and at that point I'm gonna call my mom. I don't want to be rude, but I'm gonna call my mom. So my mom, if you guys don't know, my mom works in a hospital. The relationship that me and my mom have, I normally do not call her unless it's something serious. And whenever I call my mom, she's already on high alert because I never technically call, like we usually just text. I get my mom on the phone, I'm like, Mom, there's a fire. Like I was just in a fire, and now she's freaking out. So the fire, I want to say from the time I came outside and to the time I hung up with the person on 911 and talking to my mom, it had been 10 minutes. And so I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm like, Mom, the fire department is still not here. My neighbor ends up coming downside, and now he looks like he's been through something because like the smoke, y'all, it was so much smoke. Like I don't even know how he did it because he walked up there with a t-shirt on. Now he's coughing. So then his girlfriend's like, are you okay? And I'm looking like, my gosh. He ends up going back to their place and grabs water. So he gives me 2 waters. Finally, a fireman comes. Now I want to make that very clear. I want you guys to hear me when I say fireman, as in singular, as not firemen as in plural, but fireman as in one person came in an SUV truck. He walks over to the door. He goes, I'm gonna go up there and check things out. He opened the door and he didn't even go like inside because all the smoke just came out, and he's like, all right, yeah, we're gonna need a unit. He radios on his walkie-talkie that we're gonna need backup or whatever he needs, and then I tell him, I go, oh, and by the way, I'm injured. I honestly didn't realize that I had gotten burned until I got outside because I think I just had so much adrenaline going. I feel like when I threw the pot in the sink and everything splashed, because you guys will later see that there's marks all over my legs and up my arm. I think that's when I got hit by either the grease, the flames, the fire. I don't know which one it was, but that's when I got hit. Also, you guys, I have a very high tolerance for pain, and I was kind of just holding my arm like this. He takes a look at it and he's like, okay, I'm gonna run to the trunk and I'm gonna get a cold compress. Now guys, remember when I told you before that my neighbor brought down 2 water balls? I already chugged one of them and I was still coughing. He comes over and he's like, all right, do you mind if I use this water? And I'm thinking to myself, okay sir, you said you were gonna come with a cold compress. If my neighbor didn't go to his place to get water, what were you going to use for your cold compress? Based on my burn, because it was a 2nd degree burn, it probably wouldn't have mattered, but I found out you're supposed to immediately wet the burn area with cold water. From the time I got burned up until then, my burn had never had cold water on it. The water that I was drinking was not cold, so it wasn't a cold compress. He takes the bottle of water and like we're all watching him like, sir, what are you doing? Okay, like at this point, y'all, I'm kind of getting irritated because still, the ambulance and the fire truck is not here. Splashes the thing with water, and then he puts the cold compress on my wrist and wraps it up. I also got splashed on my leg, so I'm telling him, oh, I also have marks on my leg, and he's like having a hard time seeing it. So I make a joke, I'm like, oh, it's because I'm black, but like you can see like the smashes are going up my leg. And then finally, at that point, the ambulance had gotten there. No fire truck. So my mom was talking to the fireman and then the ambulance lady and another guy. They came up and talked to me. And I just want to preference that the ambulance people were black. Vibe that girl had was off. And it kind of, for me, I already had the assumption that I was not driving with them in the truck. Based on her energy that she was giving me, I kind of didn't want to ride with them. So they ended up making me go into the ambulance truck with them. And my mom was like asking the lady questions. And she was like, oh, we're not going to kidnap her. Like, that's what she's saying. So like her vibe was very off. I don't even understand the point of me going into the truck was, because they literally didn't do anything but ask me questions, and I was having a hard time breathing or talking. I started coughing, and instead of asking me like if I'm okay, if I wanted oxygen, or I don't even know what she would give me in that situation, she told me, oh, I'm gonna give you a mask, because you guys remember we're in COVID. So she gives me a mask. So now I have a mask on, which is further cutting off my circulation and my airflow. Finally, guys, the fire truck comes here, and when I say there was like at least 7 bodies, there's at least 7 firemen that came running up into my place to like fix everything. Fireman, the guy I told you guys in the beginning, he came and was asking me questions as well. Then he told me to let's go survey what the damage was. Okay, so quick little intermission. I'm currently editing the video right now, but I forgot to mention a key element during the video is that the sprinklers never went off. From my understanding, I thought that was the point of sprinklers, to be, you know, ready in situations like this. However, the fireman informed me that it wasn't hot enough and that they're monitored by temperature. And I literally was like, sir, I don't know how much hotter it could have been in here, but okay. And he was just like, well, you're actually kind of lucky, because if it had went off, you would have had way more damages. So just a little FYI. Anyways, back to the video. Like, we went upstairs and he's like, oh, so you were making fries? And I was like, yeah, I was trying to make fries. And then he started like looking around, and like I had my laptop on my couch. And he's like, I'm just gonna remove this off your couch because it's a little hot. So like he was like doing like a fireman inspection. And he's like, okay, we're gonna have a police officer come and watch your place while you're at the hospital. I was like, oh, I'm gonna actually drive myself. He goes, okay, so then we don't need to have them come because you can just lock it up. They end up getting rid of all the smoke, and then firemen leave. I drive myself to the emergency room. I've never been to the emergency room in general, but during COVID, it's like way different. I drove there with my left hand. I'm right-handed, and this was the hand that got burnt. I go into the ER, they're doing like paperwork, and then she has to see, like the lady checking me in, she's like, I need to see your wrist or whatever. When I tell you guys that fire was so hot to the point where it felt cold, it burned so bad where I thought that I was freezing. That makes sense to you guys, but I automatically thought of hell. I was like sitting in the seat, but I was like rocking like this, like I was like shaking, and like I was tapping my feet, because you guys, I've never been burned before. Like I've had surgeries, like different type of surgeries, but burn wounds are something totally different. They hurt so bad. It's like just massive stinging. I don't wish it on anyone. I don't know how people get sunburned. Obviously guys, I've never been sunburned. On my wrist, she was like, okay, I'm gonna try to rush you, and there were already people in the waiting room. I was sitting there for like not even 5 minutes, and my name already got called. So they rushed me through the ER. Once I got through the ER, the lady just sat me in front of like the nurse's desk station, and then she kind of left me, and I sat there for 30 minutes. So when I got to the hospital, it was like 9ish. Finally got seen by somebody. It was by 9:30, and the whole time I was sitting there was like nurses laughing, playing around. One guy was like watching me the whole time. And you guys, you can't have anyone with you visiting you, so you're basically in there by yourself. I like started crying because I just felt helpless because it hurt so bad. Finally, when one of the nurses came over to me, he's like, hey, are you Hannah? And I just looked at him, and then he's like, okay, you're gonna come with me. I think he could sense that I was annoyed with them, because they literally just like, I don't know if they didn't have enough rooms or whatever. Later on, I found out that someone had gotten shot. He puts me in one of the ER rooms, and then there's a glass door, so he just shuts the door and just walks away. He doesn't say anything else. And then a couple minutes later, a nurse comes in. He's asked me about what happened, and then he's looking at my stuff, and then finally like the ER doctor comes in, and the first doctor that came in was so rude. Asked me questions that like, so what hit your arm? And I was like, sir, I don't know what hit my arm. All I know is that I was cooking grease, and that I chugged the pot into the sink, and I don't know what else happened after that. He just like specifically asked me like, did the grease hit your arm, or was it the fire, or was it the water, I go, sir, I don't know what hit my arm. He probably didn't like my attitude. And the nurse was like, he was okay, but he was just like more like calmer. He ended up prescribing me ibuprofen, y'all. That's all I got prescribed the whole time I was there. That doctor left, and I guess it was the end of his shift because the nurse was like, okay, I'm gonna go see about the person that got shot. And he started like strapping up and putting like all this like gear on, and he's like, I'll come back and check on you later on. So they leave me in the room for another like 20 minutes. Finally, guys, an angel sent from heaven. This woman doctor came in there, and she was so sweet, guys. Like, I literally started crying in front of her because I felt like no one else really cared. She was so sweet. She like wrapped up my my wound and everything. She gave me a free burn kit, like with like the scissors, the gauze. She gave me back titration. That's what I got put on my wound. That's pretty much what happened in the ER. I ended up meeting my mom afterwards. She was like sitting outside because they wouldn't let her in. Ended up sleeping over at my parents' house, and the next morning, y'all, I still had to go to work, and that's a whole other thing. I had gotten a call early that morning from like the manager and the maintenance person. They said they were gonna come visit me. The most damage that happened was to my physical body. When I tell you that all there was a bunch of black soot on the ceilings, and then the only thing that really got messed up was the blinds. So when I chucked that pot into the stove and the fire exploded up, it created like an emblem on the blinds. So like all the blinds are like kind of folded going up, and it had like a black tar mark on them. This is the actual pot. My mom thinks that she can clean it. At this point, I just want to throw it out, but I decided since I have it, why not show you guys it? This actually looks pretty good for what it did look like. Maintenance came later on after they saw everything. They painted, I got new blinds. Also, when maintenance had come in, one of the guys was Spanish, and he was coming inside, and he's like, ay, Dios mío, like he just started speaking in Spanish. I literally could have died, and it could have been way worse, which is why I think this is a God thing. I think this was just God using this. And the reason why I say that is because this burn that I'm going to show you guys in a second has created and implemented so many new conversations and relationships with people that I normally would not have had. I had not talked to any of my neighbors that I did talk to. They were not really Christian, so I was able to minister to them. We were able to have conversations about everything that happened. So I think that God is using this not only just for like a wake-up call. I just think that there's so much going on in the world right now, y'all, with COVID, with wars, with fires, with racism, with just so much going on. And when I got burned, it was so hot, and I don't know what people are using for their vices, whether it's alcohol or weed or whatever. I know for me personally, if I did not have God, I probably would have lost my mind by now. Just with everything that's going on, I do not like to be hot. I am not the type of person that likes to be out in the heat, AC at all times if possible. It's already hot here on earth, and I'm trying to be careful with what I say, but for me, the fire was a wake-up call because I could not imagine experiencing that type of pain or that type of heat for eternity. I think what I gathered from this is that there is an urgency to really strengthen and get to know God and really just be sold out for Him. Things are getting worse, and just reading your Bible and knowing Bible prophecy and stuff like that, we are really going to need God. And I don't know if you guys are believers, if you're not, I don't know who's going to see this video. I just know that for me personally, this was like something God did. It had to be, because there's no reason for me not to die, y'all. It was a grease fire. Like I told you, it took me twice to get the fire department to even come. It took them forever to get here. Me and my neighbor put the fire out ourselves. The damage could have been way worse. I only have a scar on my arm and up my legs, and the ones on my legs not as bad as the one on my arm is. Now I'm gonna show you guys what my arm looks like. So this, right now, it looks pretty good. So if you guys can see, this is what my wrist looks like. And this looks bad, but this is actually the best it's ever looked during this entire process. And then there's more scars that go up my arm and then on my legs. I'm just gonna insert those video clips for you guys if you wanna see that. Oh, look how cute this looks. Do you see that? Look at, ooh. You can literally see the fire splatter all over my leg. It looks like a tribal marking. And then look at this one. That's gonna break any moment now. It hurts so bad. And like leather seats are out. My car has leather seats in it. And then the next one I'm gonna show you is pretty bad, so brace yourself. So this is what the top of my arm looks like. And then this is my wrist, bro. In terms of recovery and all of that, so I have had to see 3 doctors, y'all. She has already made it very clear to me that my summer is canceled, as if it already wasn't canceled because of COVID. I can't go swimming. The ocean is out. Leather seats are out. My car has leather seats. I can't really let the sun get to this because I don't want any more burn damage or it to get darker. I have yet to get my nails done. This has caused so much pain. Sleeping, I've literally been sleeping like this for like the first 2 weeks. Y'all, when I said I was sleeping like this, because like my arm, like I couldn't lay on it. I had to keep it wrapped. Y'all don't know how much money I've spent on gauze. I have spent a pretty penny on gauze because I have to keep it covered. I'm very cautious about it getting infected or just getting it hit. I was walking around like this, like I had a cast on, but I didn't. I haven't been able to pick up anything heavy, which means that the gym is canceled. Even doing things like twisting the bottle, the cap of your bottle, I wasn't able to do that. I was wearing my hair natural before I got my hair done because I had to get a haircut. I wasn't able to wash my hair because imagine getting any type of soap or anything on that when the wound was bad. Y'all, so like I was trying to wash my hair with my left hand. It wasn't the same. I don't even know if it was clean at that point. Putting my hair up in a ponytail hurt because like the clenching and stuff. In the beginning, y'all, I was struggling. It's not as bad as it was before. It does still hurt because it is my right hand and it's near my wrist. Like it's so close to where my bone is. So that's just been annoying. Typing can be annoying because I have to rest my hand somewhere. So y'all pray for me. My doctor's already said that it's gonna take some time for the skin to actually grow back, and I'm getting a little concerned because it hasn't really grown. There hasn't been much progress for the past couple of weeks. It's just been this, and the scar is so ugly, y'all. It's so bad, but it creates character. That's what someone told me. One of my friends told me that if anything had gotten on my face, they wouldn't have been able to be friends with me anymore. Bruh. And I thank God that nothing burned like any part of my, I'm happy for where it did hit. Recovery time, she says that it's gonna take at least a year before all of my skin grows back. It's been a lot. Like I like downplayed it because sometimes I just feel like people don't care, but like it was way worse than I thought and than what people think. I have yet to cook with grease. Like I haven't cooked with grease since, and that's been like 2 months now. I've been cooking like just counter stuff. For like the first 2 weeks, y'all, I was getting takeout every single day, or I was getting like stuff that I can cook in the microwave. And at this point, I don't even know if I want to cook with grease because I don't think that I can. Like I have so much anxiety over it. I have been using like cocoa butter and like the vitamin A and E and shea butter and like aloe vera, but y'all, just keep me in your prayers because it's going to be a long recovery process. But yeah, guys, this pretty much completes my video. I just wanted to say that if you don't have a relationship with God, it's never too late. He wants to hear from you. I'm going to leave some resources in my description box. If you guys ever want to talk about anything or you don't know where to start, you can always message me, or you can leave a comment down below if you feel comfortable doing so. Let me know in the comment section if you guys have ever experienced anything like this. I now know what to do. And the thing is, y'all, I had everything that could have stopped the fire. I had the baking soda. I had the salt. When you're in this type of situation, you don't know what is going to happen. You don't know what to do. Like I know you can plan as much as you think you can, but when it happens and it's ready to go, you're not thinking about stop, drop, and roll. Also, at this point, if you're watching my content and you're not subscribed, I'm considering it as lurking and I'm taking it very personal. So please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give this video a like, and also don't forget to turn your post notifications on. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. First off,
remember being broke, I was on you. Now I have you, but keep it 100, did you have faith when